So by the end of his career, LeBron will not have surpassed Kobe for all-time success. I want to define all-time success as including scoring, being a face of a team, championships, and overall reputation. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, so going on. First, Kobe is going to be a much more clutch shooter, even if LeBron does continue on. Many people say that Kobe is a much more clutch shooter. He said 48.1% of NBA reps said that they would rather have Kobe take a last second shot as opposed to any other player in the history of the NBA. Again, if you look at how LeBron is shooting, he's not a tremendously great shooter. He drives more to the rim, but if in a moment where you need a clutch shot, Kobe is more reliable. Secondly, Kobe will have more championships. He's got 5 right now. LeBron only has 3. Again, the Lakers were the dominant force, and that's why Kobe was able to get so many championships. However, again, Golden State is going to beat out the Cavaliers in these next couple times, so I don't see him surpassing Kobe's 5 championships. He made the Lakers dominant. And lastly, Kobe made the Laker franchise. He was the name of and the face of the Lakers. I don't see LeBron being the name and face of the Cavaliers, just in the same regard that Kobe was.
LeBron is absolutely the name and face of the Cavaliers. He's the name and face of basketball in general. There is no other more marketable star than LeBron James. And when you talk about Kobe, Kobe wasn't even the only face because Shaquille O'Neal was there as well. He was not the face of that franchise. You talk about Kobe is clutch, so is LeBron. This doesn't actually have a point there. You talk about LeBron is not a tremendously great shooter. Yeah, because LeBron is an all-around player. Kobe had one skill, which was that of shooting. He could do nothing else. He was not a great defender. He was not a great passer. He wasn't great at any of the other things. In fact, if you look at his efficiency ratings, Kobe Bryant is #1 all-time for most missed field goal attempts. Yes, he was fine at shooting the ball, but he missed the ball more often than anyone else. LeBron is actually efficient with his shots. That's why LeBron overall, even with 5 years less playing time, has more actual efficiency. He has more total rebounds, more total assists. He's better in every single way. And while he might have less championships, he has a lot more years to get those extra 2 championships.
So he says that Kobe and LeBron had different efficiency. Again, I'd like to point out that Kobe and LeBron played different positions. Kobe was a shooting guard. LeBron is more of a forward. So again, that does differentiate how the efficiency ratings are. I'm saying just as a general, he's more of a clutch shooter and is able to make more plays in the long run. That is the great determiner of all-time success. Even if you say that LeBron does more to facilitate the offense, I'm going to argue that, again, being able to win the game in these clutch scenarios is more important. Secondly, he says that LeBron can win these championships. I would say that he's not going to win the championships because in this time, the Cavaliers are not the dominant force in the NBA. Right now, it's the Golden State Warriors in the West, and I don't see the Cavaliers going to win many more championships in the future. Again, you say that LeBron is the face of the Cavaliers in the NBA right now, but Kobe made the Laker franchise. Yes, he had Shaq, but again, it lasted. He had 2 three-peats, and it just continued on. He was the face of the Lakers, and when he departed,
Okay, so let's look at their overall comparison. LeBron James has 27 points per game. Kobe averaged 25. LeBron James averaged 7 rebounds per game. Kobe averaged 5. LeBron James averages 7 assists per game. Kobe averaged 4. LeBron James averages 2 steals per game. Kobe averaged 1. LeBron averages 1 block per game. Kobe averaged half. Every single statistical comparison, LeBron is better than Kobe. And so you talked about how the Cavs are not the dominant force right now because the Warriors are. Well, the Cavs are the #2 team. And not only that, they just picked up Isaiah Thomas and a lot of other pieces. So they absolutely can compare with the Warriors. LeBron has a big chance to be able to add those extra 2 championships. And even if he didn't, even if it was 5 versus 3, he still has 3 championships. He's still doing a fantastic job. Overall, LeBron is better in every single statistical category. In fact, most analysts would say LeBron James is either #1 or #2 all time in greatest player of all time.
I would disagree with that. I don't think Jordan was, but okay. So in terms of stat comparison, again, it has to do with the team composition. So besides Isaiah Thomas, there's not a whole lot of weapons on the Cavaliers offense. When you compare that to when Gasol or Fisher, they just had a lot more weapons on that team, which means that the scoring would be different. However, if you look at the number of, for example, 40-point games that Kobe had, he had 135. LeBron only has 60 something, I believe. So even like at more than midway of his career, he's not even close to reaching that. Again, you also have to account for how Bryant, again, at the end of his career kind of degraded, just as LeBron would too as well. So you can't just compare someone at the peak of his career with someone who has done 20 years in the NBA and has shown his stats. But again, first, Kobe's going to be winning more championships because the Cavaliers aren't going to be able to beat the Golden State Warriors. This is the reason why the all-time success, again, championships are the most important, I would say, because if you win the NBA Finals, that's the most important thing. Again, also,
okay, so you talked about the peak of their careers. Well, at the peak of their career, LeBron James was the greatest force that anyone had ever seen in basketball, even more so than Michael Jordan, because LeBron James was able to do more than Michael Jordan, was able to do more than Kareem, because he was an all-around player. Kobe Bryant had one skill, which was shooting, and he was good at shooting. We agree. I agree with you that Kobe Bryant's a great player. But, as I already pointed out, Kobe Bryant was not an efficient player. He wasn't as good at any other skill other than shooting. And he was great at shooting, but he was also taking more shots than anyone else in history. He missed more shots than anyone else in history. Not only did he miss more shots, he missed 1,000 more shots than the person who's second on that list. Kobe Bryant is a great player, but there is no way in which he matches LeBron for all time. And that's why when you compare their numbers, every single statistical category, LeBron James has better averages than Kobe Bryant. It's just not even a close comparison.
Talking about missed shots, I think the person on the top of the list would probably be Kareem. He was taking most of his shots in the paint, which would, or who is that person then?
It's Kobe. Kobe is the person number one on the list for most missed shots of all. No, he is number one, and the person in second is 1,000 missed shots behind. That's how inefficient Kobe Bryant was. Oh, wait. Okay, here you go.
Yeah. No, my point is that if Kobe is first, the person who's second is someone who's not taking as many outside shots as Kobe was. I was saying that, for instance, I probably think that second person who missed the most amount of shots is Kareem. And the reason why it was Kareem is because he was taking his majority of the shots in the paint, which is a lot easier shots. When it comes down to who is a more clutch shooter, who is in the end of the game going to be able to win the game for the Lakers or be able to do that fourth quarter spur, it is going to be Kobe. Again, he says that LeBron is all around a more efficient or better player. Again, Kobe was able to, because he was able to score so many points, he was able to open up the offense for so many other of his teammates. But when you look at the most important part of this is if Kobe will win more championships than LeBron will win at the end of his career. Again, Kobe is still going to end his career with more championships. He's going to be seen as the face of the Lakers. And when he departed, it was a huge loss, but he ended out with a bang with a 60-point game.
Okay, so LeBron James still has time to get those championships. They just added more players who will help him to get those championships. He just needs two. It's definitely doable. He's still the face of the NBA. He's the greatest player in the NBA over the last decade. He is still that. He is the face of the franchise. You want to talk about face of the franchise? That's LeBron, not Kobe, because Kobe had Shaq with him. Let's also talk about the overall numbers here. Kobe Bryant not only has the most missed shots of all time, he also has the most missed playoff shots of all time. So you want to talk about clutch rating? LeBron James actually has been rated as the top clutch player in the playoffs every year for the last several years. So he is putting up those clutch numbers. Kobe Bryant might have been able to hit that game-winning shot, but he missed more shots throughout the rest of the game than anyone else. He has the most missed shots of all time, the most missed playoff shots of all time. Kobe Bryant was a good shooter, but he was not an efficient player. He was not good at any other aspect of the game. Defense, assists, rebounds, every single statistical category, LeBron was better.
Okay, on that note, first, again, I would argue that the most important thing is in determining all-time success is ultimately capitulated in who can win more championships. Now he says that they've added more pieces to their team so that they can win. But again, the Lakers were the dominant force at the time, and he has to show that the Cavaliers will be the dominant force and be able to beat the Golden State Warriors after the Golden State Warriors have added so many more pieces to the team. Kobe made the Laker franchise, again, over 20 years, two different three-peats, strings of championships. It was evident that he was the connecting factor through all of this. We don't see that with LeBron. Additionally, in being a more clutch shooter, yes, he may have missed more shots, but in essence, he was a more clutch one who won the game.
All right, LeBron James is first place all time in value over replacement player. which is an analytic that measures the advanced stats of all players over their total efficiency and finds what they compare to anyone else. They find that LeBron James is the greatest player of all time, more so than Jordan, more so than anyone else. Compare this to Kobe, who wasn't even close because his missed shots and his overall ability to help the team was so low. When we talk about the Cavaliers are already one of the greatest teams, and they're already number 2 right now, and they've just added pieces. And even if they weren't, LeBron James has overall